Okay, so hello world. Again, this is the first video I'm making in 2025, and it took me this long because I was really wondering what I wanted to make videos about. Last year I was more focused on writing fiction and stories, and this year I will probably be a lot more committed to software development, building software products, and things like that. I'm actually releasing my next programming books in less than 2 weeks as of the time of this recording. Yeah, so if you're watching this in the future, it's probably already out there. And I'm just going to be a lot more focused on the craft of building software this year. And one reason for that is that our craft is changing a lot because of AI. I've been a software developer for 10 years now, and in all honesty, the last 2 years have been a little bit routine for me. At first I had this spark that, like, everything in the field excited me. I wanted to read all the time. I wanted to read new books. I wanted to learn new practices. I wanted to learn new patterns. But as time went on, I understood the successful patterns about how you build good products. So I found out what works for me. I found out what works for the teams that I'm working with. Building software lost a little bit of its magic for me. It turned into a regular job. Even though I love it, I love what I do. It just turned into more of a profession rather than a craft for me. The development in AI in recent years really changed the way I look at programming, because AI was this thing that um, I was considering AI nothing more than fancy recommendation algorithms, or the algorithms that they use in the self-driving cars. I never thought that our field, I never thought that programming is going to be automated, because I saw it as this weird intersection of logic and creativity, because there are specific rules that you need to follow, but you also have the room to express your creativity in this field. And I never thought that this could be automated. Like, I never thought that painting pictures could be, done with AI. I never thought that writing poems could be done with AI. But when you think about it, it's all pattern matching all the way down. We, as people, we learn about how to build software, how to write books, how to write stories, and how to paint pictures by studying what other people have done before us, and we recognize some patterns in their work, and we start repeating those patterns, and we start evolving these patterns and changing them in subtle ways. And it turns out that programming is no different. And I actually, like, at first this really put some existential dread in me. I'm not gonna lie, because I've devoted the last decade of my life to building software, and this is now getting automated, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Maybe it's time to go put on drywall. Yeah, jokes aside, I don't think the software field is going anywhere. I think that technical people are going to be even more in demand, like people with deep expertise and experience in what they do. But the field is changing. Like, there have been situations in the past where, like, when we had low-level languages, I wasn't an engineer then, but then high-level languages that where you don't have to deal with manual memory management, they took the place of those languages in like mass software development. And many people say that AI is just once again increasing the level of abstraction, and we're no longer going to be thinking about low-level details like algorithms. We're going to be thinking more about patterns. But it's not just the level of abstraction that is increasing; it's also changing our profession, because uh, it, most breakthroughs in software have been related to, like, in the end, we were still on the desk writing code. We were using different languages, we were using different patterns, but we were still, developing software the way that we were before. Now, the act of writing is turning into a solved problem. And we're no longer going to be writing as much code as we're going to be editing code. And imagine, like, we're no longer going to be spending most of our time, fleshing out code, organizing it, thinking about how to pass variables from one function to another, pondering the details of an algorithm. We are going to be editing, we're going to be doing code reviews on code that is written by AI, at least the majority of it. There are going to be these, pockets of complexity where it's going to be easier for you to go in and solve the problem yourself instead of trying to explain to an AI how to do it. But the reality is that a large part of the software we're writing is boilerplatey, and it's written in patterns, and these patterns can be recognized by AI, and it can probably automate those for us, so we can focus on the harder parts. And this is actually making me really excited about software engineering, because right now, like, the big bottleneck for me was that my output was limited by my ability to put code into the IDE. And now my output is going to be limited by the speed with which I can recognize good code, the speed with which I can edit the small problems, and the speed and just my general knowledge and understanding of how software needs to behave. Right now, you need to know what you need to build. This is still a problem that remains unsolved. So you can tell the AI that it has to build like a web service that reads data from an S3 bucket and sends this data via an HTTP request to somewhere else. But the details of how this implementation needs to behave, you still have to deal with those. Like, you still have to know that maybe you should be reading those files concurrently. You need to know that you should be maybe batching requests so you don't overload another service down the line. This is still technical knowledge that you as an engineer need to have, and you need to be able to recognize what good code is. So when the LLM generates this code, you know, okay, is this code extensible? Am I going to be able to maintain this? Is someone else going to be able to understand what this code does? If I need to add another source of files, for example, that's not S3, but it's files on a disk, does my code have the necessary interfaces that are gonna allow me to add new sources? And we're also gonna become, partial product owners, because uh, in order to build software now, like, your technical skills alone are not going to be sufficient. You will need to have a good understanding of the business. You will need to have a solid understanding of the domain in which you're building code, because you need to be able to recognize these edge cases. You need to be able to recognize the opportunities for evolution of this software in the field. All this is getting me really excited because I now have the capability to build more with less. Trying to see myself not as the person who is writing code on a day-to-day basis, and I mean, not as a JavaScript developer per se, but as a developer, as a builder. I'm the person who builds software products, and I am using the best tool for the job. And sometimes this tool is going to be an LLM. I'm going to be more productive with the knowledge that I have acquired for the last 10 years. And if I have my own idea about an application, uh, like, normally I have maybe an hour or two at night that I spend writing code or writing prose or writing a story. Now I'm going to be able to do more with the time that I have. So yeah, I'm actually excited about building software again, and I'm going to be talking a lot more about it this year. So yeah, thank you for watching this.